So how do you know what it is that sounds good? You know, I think this is one of the fundamental questions here for audiophiles is, you can read about good sound and reviews and stuff, and you can hear me talk about it. But how do you experience it yourself? How do you develop taste? How do you know what good is? Well, I think the best way to start, it's not the best place to end, but the best place to start is to listen to live unamplified music. Because after all, music that's coming out of PA speakers and stuff has its own sound. So where you have the chance to hear a guitar, an acoustic guitar, or someone playing a piano, or someone singing that's not coming out of speakers, when that happens, maybe at a church, maybe with street musicians, get into that. Focus on that. Listen to that. With your eyes closed, maybe that would help. And ask yourself this question. If I was listening to an audio system, if this wasn't a real live performance, if I was listening to this, how would I critique it? What would I think of the sound? Would you say, oh, that singer sounds, she's right there, or those drums just have this incredible attack. But basically, you're sort of setting a clock, setting a standard in your head for what these things really do sound like. You need that as a foundation. So listen to drums. If you see a street drummer, like how loud is that drum? How dynamic is that drum? When the drummer's hitting the cymbals, how much sizzle is there? How much texture am I actually hearing as opposed to what I think it is? Because your taste, if you've only listened to recordings and you listen to recordings on iffy audio systems or even great audio systems, if that's your standard, but you don't have a basis in, let's say, reality of what a cymbal actually sounds like in real life that's not going through being picked up by a microphone and coming out of a speaker, well, you need to set it, so to speak. You need to say, that's what a cymbal really sounds like. That's what a kick drum sounds like. That's what a snare drum sounds like. That's what a human being sounds like when they're really singing as opposed to just talking. Or a piano. I mean, pianos are big instruments. Even upright pianos, they're big. They're putting out a lot of sound energy over a broad area, as opposed to someone playing a guitar, an acoustic guitar, where it's really just coming out of a small instrument, out of the sound hole. So you need to have references. That's what I'm basically saying here. You need to have a reference as to what real sound sounds like. And once you know what that sounds like, then you can sort of graduate and say, this is what it should sound like when it's coming out of an audio system. Now, of course, with amplified music, with electric guitars and electric basses and stuff, is a similar thing, because those are harder. A lot of what's coming out of the amplifiers for electric, those already have been, they have bass and treble controls, they have adjustments, they have reverb, they have their own thing going on. But again, still very useful in terms of hearing it. So in a small club where there's not really that much of a PA and you can hear the sound coming out of a guitar amplifier, bass, even the singer coming out of a PA, it's still useful to setting a reference as to what music should sound like and how it appears in real life. So electric instruments are also very useful. Now, of course, depending on your taste in music, if you have any inkling or any proclivity for classical music, of course, going to your classical concerts, again, that tend not to be amplified, will really be helpful, again, for you to understand what it's supposed to sound like. Jazz in small clubs, definitely recommended as a way of knowing where you're at. Now, I think we can't go, I don't think that live music, as I've just described, is the only way to do this. It's just one of the basics. I think beyond that, I think when you're listening to an audio system at a friend's house or a dealer or a show or something, circumstances vary a lot from place to place. But I think one of the things is this music drawing you in? In other words, Can you keep listening without thinking, oh, I got to check my phone? No. The more you're pulled into the music, talking about recordings, and of course with live music as well, but with recordings, how into it are you? Are you tapping your foot? Are you bopping along to the music? More than anything, I really think that is the best way to judge an audio system. Is are you engaged? Engagement is key, and lack of engagement is a telling sign that it ain't happening for you. I really can't stress that enough. And then you can get into the audiophile stuff of developing your taste, like listening for naturalness of vocals. Now, we walk through life, we hear human voices all the time, so we have a really good fix as to what a voice should sound like. So the vocals coming out of speakers, when I was a salesman, that was one of the ways I would help people who needed some education along the way, is just focus on the vocal. How real, how human does that vocal sound when I go from a Vandersteen to a Martin Logan speaker? These and those differences between, let's say, one speaker and another aren't subtle, or even one turntable to another, one DAC or something. It's pretty easy to hear that one is a little more like real life and one is less so. One sounds more artificial, more canned, more compressed, just tonally not as natural as the other. So using vocals is also key to developing a taste of what good sound sounds like. Now, some people get hung up on bass, right? As in, the more the better. Now, I think that's one way approach. It's not mine, but for a lot of people it is, that they want to feel the bass, they want to feel it in their gut. Yes, this is another consideration. How tight the bass is, though, it's more my speed with bass, is tight, definition, clarity. In other words, can you distinguish the bass drum from the bass guitar in rock music? The more clearly defined they are, as which they certainly were when the music was being recorded, the better the bass is, at least from what I'm looking for. But again, this is a matter of developing an ear, knowing what's good from what's less good, at least for you. Pianos are another one. Pianos are really hard. Pianos are hard to record. I've been at many recording sessions, and getting piano sound in a recording is really tough. So playing it back is even tougher, because you're not going to get a lot of pianos that are really recorded to sound like a grand piano. But where they are, or if you have favorites, favorite musicians, favorite pianists, using them as a way of evaluating a system and developing your ear. Again, how much does this sound like this large instrument with this percussive, that has tone, that has depth, that has power? This is what a piano should be, and we're never really going to get there, but we can get closer and closer and closer to hearing pianos sound like pianos. I've been hung up lately on, getting back to bass a little bit, I've been hung up lately on reggae music. And the interesting thing is that on these Fortes, these Klipsch Forte speakers that I'm reviewing, reggae isn't just bass going, the driving beat. There's also this texture that happens in the bass in really good reggae recordings. Lee Scratch Perry has this thing called the Triptych, which is basically 3 albums that are sort of made into this one multi-disc set. And he was fantastic at that, and really getting down there, but also not just thudding deep bass, but bass that has some life to it. So I'm just throwing these things out here as to how you learn how to listen. Now there's also sound staging, which I think is not for everybody. A lot of people put it down, say doesn't happen in real life, which I think is insane. I think it absolutely does happen in real life. It depends on your proximity to music. Now, if you're in a concert hall and you're 50 feet away from an orchestra, well, there's no imaging because the sound is bouncing around and reflecting in the hall. But there is, in the sense that you're aware that you're hearing music in a really large, space that has lots of reverberation. But when you get closer to instruments, you do hear, oh, there's the piano, there's the keyboard. You hear them as distinct entities. But in a hi-fi system, as somebody once said, everyone who listens to an audio system is blind, meaning you can't use your eyes to detect where the instruments are. You can use your ears. And that sound stage that develops between stereo speakers, and not just a left to right, there's the tambourine and there's the, no. It's that they each appear in their own space, depending on the quality of the recording, that they have depth, front to back depth, sometimes even height. I think that is fascinating to me. I never get bored with recordings that have natural sound staging or just totally artificial but really well done sound stage, in terms of panning and creating effects and reverberation. I mean, one of my heroes, Brian Eno, I remember him saying in an interview once that when he was a kid, he was 10 years old or something, and he heard an Elvis Presley song on the radio, he was focused on the reverb that was used on Elvis's voice, and he knew even then, wow, that doesn't sound like reverb does reverberation does in a real space, but the artificialness of the reverb on Elvis's voice, because he was even at 10, he was still Brian Eno. It ignited something in him. He's like, wow, what is that sound? How do they make that sound? And so even though reverb and space can be artificially created, it still has, when it's well done, there's a lot going on there for you to focus on when you're listening to music. I think we're good. I think I'm done. My name's Steve Guttenberg. This is the Audiophiliac Daily Show. If any of you guys have any other ideas how to develop a taste for good sound and how you learn to listen and stuff, please leave those ideas in the comments section below. And if you like this thing, please subscribe. And when you subscribe, hit that little notification bell that pops up. And I think we're good. Come back soon, and thank you for watching.